Steven, on this 4th of July, I only have one question to ask you.
Yeah.
Are you ready to sip from the volcano, ride the tornado, and make love to the dragon?
The hell's that from?
That's what George Shea says every year when he does the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. The
Oh,
man
yeah,
that
yeah.
runs the best sporting event of the year.
Yeah, that guy who's a total dick, and the reason why Kobayashi is blackballed from the sport. Yeah, okay. Did you watch that 30 for 30?
I did. I was waiting for you to bring that up. And
How
yes,
can anyone have a good opinion on that guy after seeing that? Like, I don't get it. It's so slimy when I'm watching that.
believe me, I have the same opinion as you. I've watched that 30 for 30, and you're referring to The Good, the Bad, the Hungry, which is one
Uh-huh.
of the best 30 for 30s that they've done about the Nathan's hot dog eating contest or just major league eating in general.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, a lot of sliminess has gone into that business to prevent Kobayashi from being an American hero on 4th of July, no less.
But with that being said, he is very good at what he does with the announcing and all that comes around and everything that he does leading up to Joey Chestnut. I actually didn't even get a chance to hear that. I woke up too late. I had a late night last night, woke up a little too late. I think I tuned in at like 9:45. It was just at the very end, and then there was an awkward moment where Chestnut's like coming in from the platform or whatever that he was on.
Pulling
Was weird.
who's the old Knicks player that came off injured and then played in a game 7? God, what the fuck's his name? My name is escaping me. Willis Reed. Willis Reed, who I guess tore his hamstring and tried to play in a game 7 against or with the Knicks. And Joey Chestnut coming in on crutches and still crushes 63 dogs.
Yeah, it turns out that you don't need your legs in order to help you eat. So,
No,
good for
but
him.
I'll get all into that. Welcome everybody to Just Your Opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa. We're here on a 4th of July, and every 4th of July, I do watch the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. Now, I'm with you, Stephen. I'm in full agreement with you. Watching that documentary, you get the sense that the whole thing is just weird. That Kobayashi, who dominated that thing for years, is now been ostracized from that competition because basically George Shea wanted an American hero for that competition, and that's been Joey Chestnut. And it's if you've seen the documentary, it's very awkward. And nonetheless, even though I don't condone the actions of Major League Eating with Kobayashi, and I wish that he would come back, and that would be fantastic. I do enjoy watching it. They put on a ridiculous show. It's along the lines of something out of ESPN 8, The Ocho.
Yeah.
With just the ridiculousness of one of my favorite lines ever, I'll never forget, is they were asking some guy in the crowd, like, so how many hot dogs do you think Joey Chestnut's going to eat today? And he's like, oh, I think he's going for 69 today. Well, you can't argue with science, Tom. Back to you. Just ridiculous shit like that makes it funny. And yeah, Joey Chestnut comes out today, and despite the crutches and a protester that he just laid out. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, or he choke slammed him. Yeah.
Yeah, him and George Shea was having none of it. He was like, get the fuck off the stage, too. You're not ruining my event. I wait all year for this shit. They basically like ring the guy by the neck, and Joey Chestnut had just a big enough lead where it didn't matter. He eats 63 hot dogs. And I got to say, Steven, for a guy that crushed 76 a year ago in 10 minutes, and he winds up with 63, I know this is probably going to lead all the hot take shows tomorrow, the debate shows, but I think Stephen A., Skip Bayless, Colin Cowherd, all the guys of the old media, as Draymond says, they're going to lead with the fact that Joey Chestnut has peaked.
You think so?
Probably not.
You think so? Stephen A. is going to be like, I know him personally. I've talked to him.
He's a dear friend. We go down and eat frankfurters together.
But like going back to 2006, I had to do this just now, but think about where he's at. So it was 63. I thought it was 65. So that's on me.
I believe it's 63 he ate.
But that's number one. That's on me for number one. But like looking back at the first time that he was in this hot dog eating contest, and it's he's going to be the guy to beat Kobayashi. You know what he ate in order to try and beat him? He ate 52. Kobayashi had 53 3/4, and that was a world record. So just to think that he's already beaten that world record, it's like, who's going to come close? Like, nobody can beat this guy unless somebody out of nowhere can eat at least 60 hot dogs, but that's not happening. Like, not even that next guy up. I don't know who that was.
Where are you, Matt Stoney?
Right. Where is Matthew Stoney? He's probably too busy making
Another
YouTube
San
videos.
Jose guy.
Yeah. He makes YouTube videos now. But I mean, that's not even to mention all the other records that Chestnut has broken. I mean, I think there was one where is it? I'm trying to look for it now.
He's eating a lot of other shit too. Like,
oh yeah,
they do this year round, like oysters or like, I want to say Kobayashi ate like pig dick or something. Like so they eat some like weird Fear Factor shit.
Yeah, I that sounds about right. There's one that he ate though with gyoza, which is basically just pot stickers. I think he ate I think he ate like 380 of them or something in 5 minutes. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you, dude?
In that same documentary, did you see like they had like a footage of Chestnut trying to train, and he has like weights on his jaws? That's ridiculous. The whole, like, listen, I understand that I'm pumping this thing up and I enjoy watching it, but I'll be the first to tell you it's ridiculous. The whole goddamn thing is ridiculous.
It's not that ridiculous. Why is it ridiculous?
Well, I was actually expecting you to think that it was ridiculous with me, but
wasn't that what makes these two-man shows great? Is when we disagree with each other on something?
No, but I was suggesting for you to be. I'm always expecting you to think something stupid and dumb. But then
I think it's stupid that we somehow celebrate this, and this is like the one main event that we pay attention to. But championship eating, like that's no joke, man. I understand that it's ridiculous, but it's no joke.
That's why I asked you the question: is Joey Chestnut an athlete?
Oh yeah.
Are you being serious?
I am being dead serious. He trains like an athlete. He competes in something, and he does something that nobody else can do. And yeah, he's an athlete to me.
I don't know, but I will say I think that the U.S. Open tennis is a sport. Unlike what happened? Did you see that whole thing yesterday where some Seahawks fan called tennis not a sport, and then the U.S. Open Twitter account said something along the lines of, "Really, you're going to say that we're not a sport? You're going to watch 17 weeks of Drew Lock play football?" Like, Jesus Christ, the intern that runs that account is just like being ruthless. And then DK Metcalf got into it. Drew Lock even got into it. But
what did Drew Lock have to say?
He just said Happy 4th of July to the intern that runs the U.S. Open Twitter account.
Yeah. No, I mean that's a little harsh, but yeah, I'd consider him to be an athlete. I really would. I think he puts in the effort. I think that he puts his body through something, like just like athletes do in regular sports. Although it's not a conventional sport, I'd still consider him to be an athlete. Yeah.
Okay. Even though I have a lot of respect for Joey Chestnut in the sense that he can dominate this sport, I guess, or competition, I wouldn't consider him an athlete. But I do respect the fact that he can crush 63 hot dogs in 10 minutes. Which now, you know me, Steven. I love good food competitions. I always like to eat hot wings, which reminds me, you do got to eat some hot sauce eventually here. We can't just forget about this shit.
I'll do that later. I'm not doing that today.
Okay. But I wonder myself, could I do what Joey Chestnut does? So, Steven, I cooked up myself 64 hot dogs. I got them right here. There's some in the back, too. So, if you got a timer, time me for 10 minutes. Let's see how many I can eat. You ready?
We're going to do this for the next 10 minutes of the podcast?
We're going to do it. Ready?
Hang on. No. Jesus. All right. I didn't know we were going to do this. Okay, hang on. Yeah, let me get the... All right. Oh, gosh. Hang on. All right. Timer. 0 hours.
0
10
hours.
minutes. Okay.
9 a.m.
There we go.
All right, ready?
10 minutes. All right.
Here we go.
Ready?
Let's see how many hot dogs I can eat in 10 minutes. Go. So anyway,
we're going to have to do this podcast while I have to grossly hear you chewing on a hot dog. You know how nasty that ASMR is? Just
really didn't think this out, did I?
Hearing you munch on a ballpark hot dog. Is it ballpark? Is that the type you got?
Hell no, dude. Hebrew National. It's the only way to go.
I should have known. Why did I not know?
Okay. I'm kidding. I'm not going to eat all those goddamn hot dogs.
Well, then why'd you cook them? What the hell? That's a waste of hot dogs, man.
Get them for the week.
You know, I don't get the, I will say, though, that you ate them the traditional way. I don't like how they eat like 3 at a time, but just the sausage, and then they eat the bun on their own and they dip the bun in the water. Like, that's not a hot dog. You know what I mean? Like, a hot dog is the sausage and the bun combined. Like, you can't just eat them separately and say, "Oh yeah, I ate a hot dog." Like, no, you ate the ingredients of a hot dog and you separated them. Like, that's really where I'm at with the hot dog eating contest.
Yeah, but
I
it's all
think
technique too.
well, yeah, for sure, but I think it's stupid. Like, how about you take away that technique so that it's fair game for everybody and eat the hot dog in a regular way instead of bun separate, hot dog separate? I think that's, of course, I consider him an athlete still, but I still think it's kind of like cheating. You're not eating a hot dog. It's like the ingredient hot dog eating contest. The sausage and the bread separated. I don't
It's
like
also
that.
incredibly gross when they have the water, like dunk the bun in the water. It gets all soggy and shit.
Yeah, homie in the Red Sox hat with the wristbands on his arms, and the he had like I think it was red Gatorade. He was dumping it in. His hands were
Oh, that's
completely
always
red.
gross. And their faces all red, and they got the hot dog schmutz all over their face.
Yeah. That one was really bad. Like, I remember one where Chestnut was about to barf, like at the end, and he was just like, and you could see it like poking through his fingers.
Yeah, it was coming out. Yeah, it's
It was
gross.
so nasty. It was early in the morning. My mom, when I was living with her at the time, she's a vegetarian, and so having her watch that was pretty funny.
Okay, so I'm not gonna eat all these hot dogs in 10 minutes, but let's see how many I could eat in the course of this podcast. I'll say that.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
See what happens here.
Yeah,
Okay.
just time your bites, accordingly while I'm on a little rant, because I'm sure we got a lot to get into today with Kevin Durant. And then,
I guess that rhymed. Yeah, it rhymed.
and then maybe try to convince you
word.
that the Giants suck.
You don't need to convince me of that much, but
Oh, good. All right. So
I want to.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
I want to pose you a question real quick.
Okay.
Kind of a generic thing to cover all of the topics today.
Okay.
Do you think, and we're doing the show on 4th of July, and it's a traditional thing, people barbecue, people do different things when they celebrate 4th of July. And there's some traditions that, as we grow in society, that come and go. But in sports, I would say that there's some things that we like to stay the same. I'm a traditionalist when it comes to sports. There's some things I like to see different, but for the most part, I like things the way they were when it comes to when I grew up and what I'm used to. So when we have things in sports business, just changing things like UCLA and USC going to the Big Ten,
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Durant demanding trade, constantly changing teams, free agency. There's always shit like that. You can never tell who's on which team anymore when it comes to the NBA. We're getting that kind of way in the other sports too, but it's not as rampant as in the NBA. You have guys dipping out of the PGA going to play for LIV. You have the NFL increasing their games to 17 weeks. MLB,
Baseball wanting robot ups.
Yes, exactly. Do you think that we are at an all-time low for the sense of the business of sports changing the way that we watch sports? Or not so much like what goes on the field, but as far as like the way things are presented or the way things that athletes do business. Like, I just think it's fucking weird that we're gonna have USC travel all the way to Rutgers to play a college football game. That's gonna be a conference game.
Uh-huh.
Just overall, and I know business is business. Do you think that we're on an all-time low for sports business, just fucking things up for the way things used to be?
I mean, I don't know if we're at an all-time low. I don't know. I mean, I don't like, to be honest with you, I don't watch enough college sports to understand the impact of USC and UCLA. I hate USC and UCLA, both of them. I hate NCAA sports in general. I like that it lets athletes go up to doing whatever they want, or it leads them on a path down to, living their dream or whatever. I understand all of that, but as far as just the sports business goes with the NCAA, they're all corrupt. So whatever, they do, I don't even pay attention really to, well, I pay attention to college football every now and then, but like, I don't like, as far as like the business side of things, I didn't even look into too many details of it. It's just not a shocker. I don't know. What do you mean all-time low? Like, do you think it's really that like detrimental to the sport? Like, what do you mean by all-time low? Like, do you you just think it's a bad thing for all these sports to make changes and stray away from tradition?
I think so. I think it's just a little weird. Like,
yeah,
I hate the fact that USC and UCLA are not going to be in the Pac-12. That conference is going to die.
Yeah, that's gonna be
Um,
it's well on its way out.
yeah. As far as like, and we'll get to the bigger topic of Kevin Durant a little bit here, but just like the fact that, you know, I think the business
Mm.
model of the NBA is kind of getting screwy, but it's also, I understand, beneficial for the players to get their money.
Yeah.
Um,
No, when you're talking about when you're talking about NCAA, that's where I feel a little indifferent about it. But when you bring up the live golf,
yes,
we didn't even in the robot umps in baseball, and
yes.
one other thing that you don't really need to mention anymore, but it's an example of trying to stray away from tradition was the Super League for soccer and
Hmm.
going away from that, going away from Champions League because these other teams basically feel like and they just wanted more money. That's essentially what it came down to. I do think we're at a point now where each league is trying to make some sort of change when maybe it doesn't need to. Like robot umps. It's funny, man. Like I'm a total traditionalist when it comes to that sort of thing. Like in baseball, it's different when it comes to every sort of topic that you come up with. If it's robot umps, yeah, I'm totally against that. But if it's, changing games in the seventh inning or whatever, making them 7 inning double headers and putting a runner on second in extra innings, whatever that is, I'm all for that. But robot umps, I think, take away like the human element of the game, and I don't think those changes need to be made. But then you see like a Angel Hernandez clip where he calls a ball a strike, even though it's 6 inches outside of the plate and has no business being a strike. And people are like, oh, robot umps. Like, how are you supposed to make any sort of argument for just regular human umpires? You know what I mean? So I don't know. I do see where you're coming from, and it can be very frustrating. But in the end, man, it all comes down to money. We live in this capitalistic society. It's just all money. Maybe not robot umps, but live golf. Yeah, that's all for money. Like Justin Thomas, even though I'm not like the biggest fan of him, I think he said something along the lines of, "Hey, just admit you're doing it for more money." Like you're not
Yeah.
doing this for any other reason. Just admit it, players. You want more money, and that's totally fine. So yeah, I don't know. I do think we're there. Why? It seems like you're pretty hot on this though. Like what the NCAA gets you? Like what else gets you? Because the NBA player movement stuff, that doesn't really bother me too much.
It doesn't bother me so much. It's getting annoying.
Mm,
I would say that we have to. Well, we'll talk about Kevin Durant, but just I don't know, just the constant changes and stuff. Like I don't
yeah.
know. I understand that business is business. You're gonna try to make more money in every company you're in. But I don't know. I just feel like we're getting away a little bit from what we were used to in sports, and there's something that's always changing. Whatever sport you want to pick, NFL, baseball, basketball, golf, NCAA. It's just constantly always changing, and I don't know if it's for the better. It's for the better financially, but just as far, I mean, I would say that it's still in enjoyable watching everything, but at the
Hmm.
same time, it's just weird that we're going to a non-traditional way of just way that those leagues operate.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I do think it's the things that they're focusing on aren't necessarily the changes that need to be made. Like baseball, the changes that they want, robot umps. I mean, is it really a bad strike zone that's killing the game? No, it's not. It is the fact that your hitters do not want to even try and bunt the other way and try to hit opposite field. There's like it's 12 teams in the postseason. All right, what's that going to fix? Like, that's not going to make your sport any better. Okay, sure, you let two extra teams into the playoffs, but then that kind of makes the 162 game marathon a little less special, I guess, or something like that, where the teams that have been grinding throughout the year, there's a real possibility that they're not going to be participating in the playoffs later on in the postseason. Like, oh, there's different things like that. Like the one change that needs to be made. Oh, sorry, the 10-minute timer's off. So I don't know how many you've
Well,
eaten so far.
almost one.
Okay, almost one. Good job,
So
Derek. You are
okay,
on
I
pace.
changed my mind. Joey Chestnut is an athlete.
You are on pace, my friend. Just under one. What, 10 minutes? So you get 6 per hour. So yeah, you need about 10 hours in order to match what Joey Chestnut does for the entirety of the day. So good
Take back
luck.
everything I said.
You got until damn, what's the time? 124. You got until 124 exactly, and you'll be able to tie his record. But
Sweet.
Man, there was one idea, and this was from the roast, and this is something that Shasky brought up, and I absolutely loved it. But when we were talking about changes in sports, um, he was talking about one where he said like NFL owners can have like a leash for how long they can own a team. Like if your team doesn't do anything within the postseason in the span of 7, 8 years, then sorry, you're not allowed to own that team. Like I think there needs to be changes within that where it's just like these guys don't even bother, don't even care to try and bolster their roster or do anything to make it better. They just keep on, you know, making dire decisions. I mean, like, wouldn't you, as an A's fan, wouldn't you want them to have different ownership by now? Like, you know what I mean?
Definitely, but that in a perfect world would be great. But that's you don't make an investment into a team like that for billions and billions of dollars,
For
and then to
sure.
be told after 4 seasons, sorry, you didn't do enough.
Yeah. No, you could stray away from tradition is basically the point that I'm getting at, but don't do it in terms where it's just only for monetary reasons.
Yeah, and I really don't know what the point of this whole thing was, honestly. But I was just thinking more about it, just like when all that news broke on Thursday with Kevin Durant
Uh-huh.
and UCLA and USC, and there's so many changes going on in sports. I was like, does anybody care that we're getting away from what we used to know? But if it's still the same product, people are going to enjoy it. Probably with the exception of Live, because I know a lot of people don't like the way that tournament's set up.
Yeah,
But
I don't really know too much like about
neither
live
do I.
and all of that. I don't know these players like who really likes them that much in order to, stray away from watching their regular PGA Tour programming, whatever.
Yeah. But back to your thing about the robot umps. I did read that article with Rob Manfred who watched the interview.
Oh yeah.
That guy, like. So what's the worst thing you've said you've done, or the worst mistake you've had in your time as commissioner? Well, I have to pick one. I'm not going to answer the question now.
Yep. Yep.
Anyway,
Sounds about right.
let's move on to what people want to talk about,
What's
or
that?
hear us talk about. Kevin Durant. And yeah, the big story that happened Thursday, along with the UCLA and USC news, the bigger news was that Kevin Durant wants to be traded from the Brooklyn Nets, and everyone thought that he was going to stay with the Brooklyn Nets after he addressed it on his podcast and basically downplayed the whole rumors and everything. And then we thought he was going to stay because Kyrie Irving opted in and sounded like he was going to stay with the Brooklyn Nets. Things have changed after I guess 2 seasons with the Nets, even though he signed for 3 years. He was hurt that first season that he signed with them.
Yeah.
And now he wants out of there. And the rumors are that he's interested in playing for either the Phoenix Suns or the Miami Heat. Obviously, the two top seeds in their respective conferences from a season ago. So, Steven, I ask you, and then I'll give my opinion. What do you think about this whole thing with Kevin Durant after leaving the Warriors? He gets his own situation with the Brooklyn Nets. He was on arguably, potentially, a NBA championship caliber team, and now they want to blow it up, and he wants to go to a different team now.
I have mixed emotions about it. Because I do think that wherever he goes, he's going to change that team. Like if the Suns get him and manage to trade for him, they'd probably have to trade away Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton in a sign and trade, and maybe a couple of other players. But if you're talking, you want to trade him. I mean, the Nets were saying they wanted 2 All-Stars for him. I mean, Ayton and Bridges are not All-Stars, not by a long shot, but they're damn good players that still have a ceiling that I think is yet to be reached. I think DeAndre Ayton kind of just stopped putting an effort in with the Suns. And then with the Heat, I mean, you got a guy in Tyler Hero who would most likely be involved in that. But other than that, I don't know who else. I don't Kyle Lowry, I guess. I don't know who'd be involved in that trade. But ultimately, though, man, it's I like, how am I supposed to? I'm trying to look at it from Kevin Durant's perspective, and I just can't imagine being like a guy who has that much of an, I don't want to say power, but him being one of the greatest scorers that we have ever seen in the NBA, it gives you this leeway, I guess, to make these decisions. But man, it's just like, I was shocked when I heard it. I really was. I thought he was going to stay in Brooklyn. I thought Kyrie was kind of just going to come off looking like the crazy person. And then Kevin Durant was going to try and build that franchise from whatever they get with Kyrie, and then maybe they add a free agent, in the next couple of years, because he still has 4 years left on his deal. So I thought he was going to want to stay there, but there has to be something else going on with the GM, because it was really kind of eye-opening when Woj first tweets out that GM Sean Marks, I believe that's his name, Sean Marks.
Yep.
I keep on getting him and Bobby Marks' name confused or mixed up. But
former GM of the Nets.
Former GM, but Sean Marks and his agent,
couple of Marks,
and Kevin Durant are working on like getting a trade out of there because KD had requested one. But then KD had gone to the very top. He'd gone to the owner and said, "Hey, I want out." Like, I wonder what is going on there, because he was given full autonomy with that team. They said, "Hey, who do you want as head coach?" He said, "Nah, not Kenny Atkinson. We want Steve Nash. And, let's meet on Huntington Beach and let's talk it out with Steve." Then Steve became their head coach. "Oh, let's get James Harden. That'll be great. Oh, let's trade all our picks for him. Oh, yeah, let's get Kyrie. That'll be awesome. Oh, man, I get to play with my friends." Can you imagine? And then only winning one playoff game in his 2 years there so far. I'm shocked, but I'm not shocked. I don't know, man. I like Kevin Durant a lot, but I do feel like if this move ends up happening, he just absolutely set a franchise back 10 years just by his actions alone. So through that, I do think it's a little petty what he's doing. I want to say that I get it, but I just don't, man. I really don't.
No, I really don't know what there is to get. You perfectly said it, Steven. He got everything he wanted. He wanted a clean slate from the Warriors. And I know that he won 2 championships, and who's to say whether or not they would go to the Knicks if they had a different ownership, but they kind of like Kyrie and KD's like kind of just on a whim decided, let's go to the Nets. And they went, and Sean Marks was like, "Okay, let's do this." And they gave him everything. They fired Kenny Atkinson to get him Steve Nash. They got DeAndre, who's their guy?
Ayton?
No, not Ayton.
Oh, Jordan?
Jordan. Then he, gets Blake Griffin. He gets whatever. They got all the players they wanted, and they got everything they wanted. And if it's something to do with what happened with Kyrie last year, with the way that the Nets organization treated him, I can't be down with that. Or if it's the fact that they just got swept in the first round to the Boston Celtics. If I was Sean Marks and Kevin Durant is pulling this, I would say, "Kevin, we gave you everything you wanted, dude. What else do you want? No, we're not trading you. That's not going to help us. There's nothing wrong. I know we live in a different, that's what I'm saying with traditions and everything. We live in a different sports world now where if Deebo Samuel demands a trade, people are like, well, he's going to get traded on the draft. And we all thought that, and me included. But sometimes GMs or coaches are allowed to say, no, we made a deal with you. We're going to sign a contract. In this case, Deebo didn't sign a contract, but in Kevin Durant's case, he signed a 4-year deal to stay with the Brooklyn Nets.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that, things happen, but you can't just be like, yeah, I'm not into this anymore, when everything was given to you. Now, if it was a bad situation, he didn't like the coach or he didn't like the GM or the owner, that's one thing. But everything that I've read and everything that I've seen, they gave to Kevin Durant full autonomy to do whatever he wanted on that franchise.
Yep.
And now, just because the team didn't perform well last season, he wants to go join the Suns now? Or the Heat?
That's the question, though. Is it just because they didn't perform well, or is there something else that was happening within that organization where he just said, "You know what, I want out"? And that, this is the risk that you take, though, of paying these guys so much money. Like all these contracts that were given out this past free agency, whether it was Ja, Nikola Jokic, or whatever. I mean, even looking at Steph's contract, I know Steph wasn't given a new contract this year, but even looking at his contract and just knowing that he's going to be paid about $60 million when he's, in 2025, 2026, like that's just insane with the money that's being thrown around. But you do run the risk of these players, as Adam Silver has given them this power, to just cross their arms and say, "You know what? I can request a trade. I could get that report out there, and a bunch of teams are going to come offering with a brand new sleuth of players because they want me." Like, I'm the one that holds the power here. You don't. And there's going to be a team that could possibly give them an offer that they can't refuse. So which team is that going to be? I
That was
don't know.
okay.
But like I always go back to this trade too. It was Paul George, back with Oklahoma City. It
Hmm.
was, I think he signed like a 4-year deal there, and then he played like that one season. I think it was one season, maybe it was two, but he ended up just requesting a trade as soon as that was done, and everything that was happening, all the reports that were happening, there was all this talk about Paul George, Paul George this, Paul George that, and Paul George was like going international, just on vacation, like playing soccer with a bunch of people in some native land. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he was doing some good for the community, apparently. But like, these guys just really can do whatever they want. I always go back to that contract for some reason. I don't know why. I think about Paul George a lot when these things are coming, because it felt like that was really not the first time that anyone's ever just requested a trade in the midst of that, but it felt like that's when player empowerment really started to shift. And Paul George is just like, you know what? I'm done with that contract. All right, let me move somewhere else.
Well, I think that was also just Kawhi, kind of
Kawhi too. Yeah, Kawhi was a big reason, just recruiting him to go there. But he just
exactly.
said, hey, you know what? I don't have to play here. I want to go to LA, and LA is going to give you a trade package that, you might seem stupid for not accepting. So
It was a beneficial move for the Thunder to do that, and then they got rid of Russell Westbrook to go to the Rockets. So they changed their whole course.
right.
If you bring back Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and all the guys that are on the Nets, I think that they're in the conversation to be a championship team. I just
I
don't
think so
understand.
too. That's the interesting part about
Yeah,
this whole thing.
yeah. And Ernie brings up a good point. I forgot LaMarcus Aldridge, James Harden. They got everybody they wanted, and the Harden thing was weird. But I don't know. Like, does Kyrie and Kevin feel like the organization screwed him because Kyrie didn't want to get the vaccine and was I don't know. That's going down a whole nother road. But I just think that it's ridiculous. I think that's if Kevin is tired of everybody talking about him in a certain way, this is not going to help him. Going to the Suns or the Heat after you want to get out of Brooklyn and this was going to be your own team, the public perception is going to be at all time.
Mhm.
It's going to be worse than it was with him joining the Warriors, in my opinion. And to that point about Mark Spears' report yesterday, look, I like Mark Spears. You like Mark Spears. We know Mark Spears. Mark Spears, I don't think was necessarily saying that the Warriors are in on Kevin Durant. What he's basically saying is that the whole league is looking into Kevin Durant. So that includes the Warriors. And they probably have the best trade package to get him. But are they going to do it? As Marcus Thompson said, it's highly unlikely, and I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I don't think they'd be it. It would just go against everything that they've talked about, like everything that they've done. Building through the draft. Like, they kept on saying, we wanted to draft these guys because we didn't want to just trade for a star. We also wanted to draft guys so that we could build our organization so that post Dre and Clay, these guys can, hang on with Steph when Steph's toward the end of his contract. And it may, hell, who knows? Maybe we give Steph a new contract if these guys feel like that they could play with them, and Steph can play until he's 40 years old. Like, it would just go against everything that they've talked about, like what they've done. Like, they have backed up their whole checkbook championship by saying, well, we drafted those guys. It's not our fault that we paid them.
Now, why would you say that?
Huh?
Checkbook championship.
Exactly.
What does that mean?
Exactly. So,
Royce O'Neal traded? Peculiar.
right.
The whole thing. I'll talk about
Yeah.
that later too. That was ridiculous. Anyway,
yeah, that
sorry.
was weird. Yeah, what, Brian Windhorst with that?
Huh.
But yeah, man, I don't know. I don't see the Warriors doing it. I do think there'd be some Warrior fans who are in on it just because they don't know what to expect from, Moody, Kuminga, and Wiseman. It's a lot to put on these younger guys. And then Jordan Poole too, and Andrew Wiggins remaining who he is. I think, some Warrior fans are skeptical of it. I'm personally not one of those fans. And I don't think they need the headache that is Kevin Durant. That would be Kevin Durant coming back to Golden State. Like, so a lot of fans don't want him. Like, the fans that I'm talking about that do, it's a very small section of them. A very small.
I know one.
Ooh, who's that?
Joe Lacob.
You think so?
He loves Kevin Durant, and he always wants stars on the team. So I think what they're probably mulling it over right now, but they're also at the end of the day being like, if he was never on the team, they would be all over this. But we've seen this, and
Yeah.
I gotta be honest, I don't think Kevin wants to come back to the Warriors. Just the way he talks about it, it was happy to be a part of it, but he also knows the backlash that would come with it. Despite the fact that he says all this shit on his podcast saying, like, I don't really care what everybody thinks about me, he does. So if he went back to the Warriors with his tail between his legs, that with the Brooklyn Nets failing, that would be terrible. But I don't think it's gonna be any better going to the Phoenix Suns or the Miami Heat. I think it'd be worse if he joined the Warriors again, but I don't know. I think that's just a terrible situation he's putting himself in. That we went through the whole just controversy of that 2018-2019 season where he just wanted to get out of there. It was always just a different rumor. And now he finally got what he wanted, and he's not happy still.
I
I
think
kind of also
the
feel
Heat
sorry
are,
for him.
I think the Heat are pretty realistic, though. If we're talking about places he could possibly go, I think the Heat's a very realistic destination because he has 3 years left on this deal that he got where he signed that big deal. I think he's got 3 years left, right? Let me double check that.
Well, he
Yes,
signed a 4-year contract.
Yes, he does. Or no, he's actually got 4 years left on that deal.
Oh, so he just signed it.
This is the first. Is this the first year that came into play? Like, how did this work? I'm looking. I'm just to be honest with you, I'm looking on Spotrac right now. I'm not like doing this based off of it. Oh, he originally had the 4-year because of the sign and trade from the Warriors, and that ended in 2022. So he signed this new deal, which is officially taking place now. Okay, so there you go. So that other deal that he previously got in the sign and trade from the Warriors when he opted out. Okay, so there we go. That makes a little more sense.
So this is his second contract with the Nets, then.
So it's a second contract with the Nets. So he's technically got 4 more years left on his deal. Wouldn't a guy like Pat Riley, who is saying, like I've tried with this Heat team, I've tried for the past couple of years, things are not working out. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be here with the Heat. I am going to trade whatever I can in order to get this championship one more time here in Miami.
Bam Adebayo?
I don't know if Bam Adebayo can be traded. There's a whole thing that goes into that. But
yeah, see, this is another thing that, like, in the NFL, it's just like straight up, like, guys get traded. Same in Major League Baseball. In the NBA, your contract's got to match up. The same salary, you got to have the same salary and shit. Mm-hmm. I just don't know what's feasible. From everything I read, it's that the Chicago Bulls and the Toronto Raptors have the best chances to get him just because of their salary caps.
That would make sense.
I don't know. I'm the reason I sound annoyed with this conversation is because I am annoyed with this conversation, and it goes back to the UCLA USC stuff. It's just how things are done now, where I don't know, man. Like when guys sign contracts, they would play with those teams, and now I just think it's ridiculous that Kevin Durant, after getting swept by the Boston Celtics, he wants to leave now.
Yeah,
and I do not think it's happening that he's coming back to the Warriors. I think that's just. It's fun to talk about. It's good for local radio, but as far as being realistic, that's no chance in hell that's happening.
No, but I don't think so.
If it did, I think we talked about this last week, but would you be down for this if Kevin Durant came back to the Warriors? Just hypothetically.
No, I wouldn't.
I would be down for it on the court, but off the court, it would be just a fucking headache.
Yeah, and I don't want it if I want the Warriors to be good in 2027 and throughout. Like they'd have to trade their draft picks for the next couple of years. They'd have to trade whoever they've drafted these past couple of years, that being Kuminga, Moody, and probably Patrick Baldwin Jr. Like the only one who'd be remaining from this draft class would be like, I don't know, Ryan Rollins and Guy Santos. It's Guy, by the way. Everyone's pronouncing it gooey. It's like, do your research. His name's Guilherme.
It's
like,
Guy.
It's Guy. Damn it. But like, I'd be frustrated for the future, but I also do think in life, and I've kind of learned this throughout sports, is I'm not going to get frustrated over anything that I cannot control. So if I can't control that, like, okay, whatever. They decided to trade for Kevin Durant. That's a stupid move by them, and they just ruined their team's future. But they made the move. No point being frustrated by it. I can't make that change. So
yeah,
I'm like, you know what I mean? Like I've kind of learned that through life where I don't get like that pissed off about it anymore because it's like, what can I do? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm just a lowly man, Derek.
I only get pissed off because we have to talk about it, and I wish. I mean, obviously, like yeah, like what else would we be talking about right now if things went according to plan free agency wise? It's not a huge free agency class
Mm.
in the NBA right now, so it does make things interesting. But I just think it's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous that it's another summer and Kevin Durant is looking for another team, and I think it's crazy that the Nets are willing to accommodate this. I really do.
Yeah,
I
but
go
you
back
know
to
what?
that
This is
photo. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
sorry. No, you go
No,
ahead. Keep
I
going.
just go back to that photo of Steve Nash holding on to Kevin Durant for dear life after he won that playoff game for them. And if they gut the team, and this trade's being floated out there right now that it's a possibility that Kyrie Irving could be traded to the Lakers for Russell Westbrook. You think, and Ben Simmons is still on that team. You think that Steve Nash wants to coach this team? If I was him, I would retire and go do whatever soccer league he was doing commentating for. Like he could do whatever the hell he wants. This is just too much shit to deal with.
Champions League.
Yeah.
By the way, the new Giants prospect that they just called up, David VR, just hit a double off the wall. Very close to hitting a home run off Madison Bumgarner and the Diamondbacks. So shout out to David VR or Villar. I'm not sure which one it is. Hopefully it's
If it is
VR.
VR, maybe you can watch that on your VR.
That
was terrible.
Yeah, that was okay.
Full disclosure, I'm a little hungover today, so if my energy is low, I apologize.
That's okay. I'm drinking wine at the moment.
And I'm eating these hot dogs to give me fuel.
Yeah, you haven't eaten more than one.
I'm going slow. Hang on.
Okay, yeah, very good. But it's also Adam Silver you have to blame for this. I remember last year, like Adam Silver does a lot of great things for the league, and it seems like he's the type of owner that loves the players and really wants to do what's best for the players. But now it feels like he's given them a little too much power because the players can really do whatever they want with no remorse from the league. Like they don't care. And I mean, just last year, Adam Silver said, yeah, we're going to crack down on this sort of thing. Well, how? You haven't. And look what's happened. Now the one guy who makes your league, to be honest with you, this is it's a bad look for the league in general. Like Jessie, for example, she's not the biggest NBA fan, but like when she sees stuff like this is what she says. You know what I mean? Like,
read your girlfriend's text for everybody.
Yes. She says, yep, fuck that guy. I want someone willing to put in the work and not depend on anyone else to get a ring. It's about chemistry as much skill, but that's just my opinion, man. Yeah.
Like well done, Jesse.
And
by the way, that should be a thing now. If you write a comment on the live stream, just always end it with, but that's just my opinion, man.
Yes, please do. But like, this is partially why, people are out on basketball. They tried to, alleviate the rule change that made it harder for guys like James Harden to get that easy foul call, and go up for 2 free throws. They did amend that, but that's little things on the court. Off the court, they still need to make some changes here. And I think that players have they've grown. They've gotten too much of it. You know what I mean? And this is why, people badmouth them, man. It's not a good look. It's really not.
No, but if you had to, guess, when do you think this is going to happen and where do you think he's going to go?
Yeah, I think Miami is going to be his destination. I really do. Just because of where Pat Riley's at in his career, where the Heat have been these past couple of seasons. I think he can figure out a way to create a package that would be enticing for the Nets. It would be one that Sean Marks can refuse. And then Pat Riley would go in there with his slick back hair, probably he definitely combs his hair like as you're talking to him, right? Like he takes it out of nowhere, out of his suit jacket pocket. He just like takes a comb out and is just like, Shawnee.
Oh, like an old school Italian, listen here, man.
Shawnee, we got a good deal for you here, Shawnee. All right. This is one that you can't refuse. All right. And then he starts going on about,
you're making Pat Riley out like he's like a New York gangster.
I know, right? But he looks like one. Tyler Hero, though, is one where it's like, can I get this guy away from my team, please? He's got way too much baby mama drama to focus on basketball.
All the backstories, man. We've been reading a lot of Black Sports Online, huh?
Been reading a lot of Robert Whitall. He's been keeping up, developing news, man.
I know nothing about Tyler Hero's baby mama drama.
Well, they broke up originally because she found out that after they had a child, him and this Instagram model, she found out that he had cheated on her right after they had the child. And she went on Instagram saying that his reproductive organ was very small and that he had cheated on her and gave all the details
I
on
like
it.
the way you say that.
And now they are back together.
Oh, hey,
Yeah.
true love, man. True love conquers all.
It's really something to behold. So I don't think Pat Riley wants any of that baggage though in Miami. He's like, get him out of here. I don't need any of that. Get him to
Send him to
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. Where Brooklyn at?
Yeah, exactly. So I personally think the Heat are going to be it. What about you?
That's a good. That's a good call. I keep hearing that the Bulls and the Raptors have the best to offer, but I can't see Kevin signing off on that because people forget. In order for this to happen, it can't just be like I see some reports where it's like the Nets are going to just trade Kevin Durant where they want to, and that's all well and good. But at the end of the day, who's this guy? Rich Kleiman. Rich
Mhm.
Kleiman. If they trade into a team that he's not going to like, he's like, hey, well, Kevin's not going to report. Then it's going to be another shit show. So in the end, it's either going to be Phoenix or Miami. Probably Miami. I can't see the Suns trying to gut that team just to get one player. They're in still a good position. They just shit the bed in that game 7. I guess you would have to give up who DeAndre Ayton. Who'd you say DeAndre Ayton, Bridges, and maybe Chris Paul or
I don't know about Chris Paul, but I heard even though they just gave him an extension, Devin Booker would be the guy that the Nets want. Or I didn't hear it.
I
I
mean
read it.
that's what the compensation should be, and I think that's what the Nets want. You give me one premier All Star for another All Star. Like you got to give me 2 for Kevin Durant. That's why
Mhm.
the whole trade stuff for Aaron Rodgers was ridiculous because if Rudy Gobert, and we'll get to these real actual trades in a minute, if Rudy Gobert goes for what 5 draft picks, first round picks, how much would Kevin Durant go for? How
Yeah.
many players and how many picks?
Yeah. You got to think
So
it'd be a lot more than that.
yeah, real quick. On Saturday, rumors started to rumble that this Kyrie for Westbrook trade was going to happen eventually. We're still waiting for that to happen. If I was the Brooklyn Nets, I would want no part of Russell Westbrook. But if they're just trying to get Kyrie off the team and send him to LA, like I think we said this a week ago, Kyrie going to the Lakers doesn't scare me whatsoever. So if that happens, cool. They're a better team. They'll probably get in the playoff mix finally. But as far as the Warriors, the only move that would scare me, honestly, is if Kevin Durant went to the Suns. If Kevin Durant went to the Suns, he's in our conference, let alone our own division. And divisions don't matter anymore, but you'll see him however many times they play a year. I think 6. It would just be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, and them signing Damian Lee, big deal.
How about Damian Lee throwing out the first pitch at the Giants game and then a few hours later signing with the Phoenix Suns?
Dude, it was like 2 hours later.
So this is what I'm saying, though. Agents have so much control in sports over the whole fucking landscape. I don't think Damian Lee even knew that he was going to sign with the Suns that night. So he's just, well, I'm hanging out. I'm in the Bay Area. Still love the Bay Area. I got my brother-in-law. I'm throwing out the first pitch of the Giants game. This is pretty cool. And then, I'm going to a new team. I'm not going to go yet. I'm going to go to the Summer League game with Steph the next day. We're having a good time.
Well, he probably had an inkling that he wasn't going to be back with the Warriors. Maybe he didn't know that he'd be with the Suns. But to be honest with you, I'm sure he's elated. Like, I know he's being, has to go away from a championship team and that he has to, be away from Steph and be away from the family. But they just paid him more money than the Warriors could have offered him. Like, it would have just been a 1-year veteran minimum deal and he would have just been riding on the bench. Like, I know it might have been sad at the time, but I think Damian Lee, like, you got to get your money, man. And if he was able to get his money, which he did, I think they would have only signed him to a 1-year deal. So I don't know if he was like, mad or frustrated at it, whatever. But
I disagree, man. I think when they have that Damian Lee press conference, and you damn well know they're going to have a Damian Lee press conference,
they did only sign him for 1 year. Why did I think it was a multi-year deal?
he's going to shed some Freddie Freeman tears. I'm telling you.
I don't know why I thought it was a multi-year deal. It's not like the Porter Jr. or the Peyton II deals. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like it's the same thing as watching players get traded as they're playing a baseball game.
That's always fun to me. My dad always tells me about when Jose Canseco in the middle of a game was traded, and they were like, Jose, you're not going back in the game. Why? Because you're not on the team anymore. Well, this is weird. I don't know what you're talking about. And then he goes and plays for Texas.
Yeah.
No, what I'm saying is that Damian Lee it's kind of out of the athlete's hands sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Like, who's to say that Rich Kleiman probably told Kevin Durant, hey, let's get out of Brooklyn. Could be the case. But to your point, like with Damian Lee, and yeah, Damian Lee needed to leave. Even though I think a week ago you said that you thought he never was going to leave. He was always going to stay on the Warriors because Steph was there.
Yeah, I thought so too.
But like with Freddie Freeman, he can do whatever he wants. Why is he crying? This agent told him that the Dodgers had the best offer. If he really call the Braves up and ask to just make me another deal. And if you want to stay with the Braves, stay with the Braves. You don't have to pull this shit. It's really awkward now. They'll probably still win, but that's a bad situation.
Didn't they just not tell him about the Braves deal like at all?
Yeah, said his agent is slimy and he wanted him to go to the Dodgers. But why does it take that long for Freddie Freeman to know that going back to Atlanta for them to tell him that we made you another offer?
Yeah.
And the offer was less than what the Dodgers were offering.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, his agent just wanted him to play with the Dodgers.
For sure. Yep.
Weird situation. Okay, but back to actual trades. So before the Kevin Durant news came out, I think around the same time maybe, Malcolm Brogdon gets traded to the Boston Celtics. I think that's a fantastic move because we saw in the NBA Finals that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum just had trouble just with their handles, just holding on to the ball.
Yeah.
And Malcolm Brogdon is a great point guard. I've heard rumors that they're saying he's going to come off the bench. I highly doubt that. He's going to be a starter with them and not make. What did you think that?
No. Marcus Smart is going to be the starter. It's going to be Smart, Brown, Tatum, and then who's going to be their power forward? Horford's still going to be on the team, and then it's going to be Robert Williams starting at center.
No, I actually got a good point. I forgot everybody else on the team. All right, never mind that. But Malcolm Brogdon's a good player, and he's a better offensive player than Marcus Smart. But Marcus Smart's a great defensive player, so you can't have him.
He's the team leader. You can't have that guy coming off the bench. But I do agree though. Like Brogdon he'd be a really good 6-man coming off that bench. A very good piece off the bench. I do like that move.
No, good move. The one that I don't understand is Rudy Gobert going to the Timberwolves because I don't think you need a lot of size in this league anymore. And having Karl-Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert on the floor together, I just don't see it. I think Rudy Gobert is a fine defensive player. He's won, I think, 3 or 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards. But in the playoffs, I never really seen him play that well. And I don't think this makes the Timberwolves that much better, to be honest. They get rid of Patrick Beverley. They get rid of a lot of other guys. They ship him off to Utah. And I doubt Patrick Beverley's actually going to play for the Jazz. So, this was the thing that Brian Windhorst was alluding to with his, now why would they do that? Why would Royce O'Neal be traded to the Brooklyn Nets? Peculiar. Very peculiar. But as far as the actual trade itself, this doesn't, I don't think it's that big of a deal that Rudy Gobert went to the Timberwolves.
I want to see how it works out. Size is still size, but but
when you're playing the Warriors, it really doesn't matter.
Right, for sure.
That's my thing is I'm just surprised when teams like everyone's like, how do you beat the Warriors? Well, why don't you play like them? Why don't you get guys that can shoot threes, play like hell on defense, and move the ball around? I'm always amazed like teams like the Mavs that don't want to play like that, or the Brooklyn Nets.
Right. No, if you why don't you just go with the system of, hey, get a bunch of guys who can pass the ball. And if they're not going to be passing the ball, get a bunch of other guys who understand how to set screens and then cut back door when they need to so that they can get a basket when Steph is being double teamed. It doesn't have an open shot. Like I don't understand why
backdoor action.
I don't understand why teams can't emulate that too. But the Towns and Gobert thing, it reminded me of when the Pelicans tried doing the Twin Towers, with Anthony Davis
and Boogie.
Yeah, and that didn't end up working out. I don't know. Gobert's a weird player, but in the end, the Jazz needed him to get out of there. I don't really know where this. I don't know where this benefits the Timberwolves. Really, the Timberwolves just gave up a bunch of their future, but you never know, man. I mean, Anthony Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns, but also I think this is a product of Karl-Anthony Towns, and this is exactly just like Ernie texted in just now. Like this is building on the point. Ernie says, Cat just wants to play on the perimeter. And I think that's what you're seeing here. A guy who's not willing to play in the low post and back their guy down and out muscle him. Like this dude wants to play on the outside. I don't know, man. They got to
No, that could
That's
be
a
the
tough
case.
task. That's a tough task ahead of him. But I do think this is a product of Karl Anthony Towns not exactly playing like the big man that they want him to be.
Well, we'll see if it works. And I don't think they're done because I don't think Donovan Mitchell is going to remain on the Jazz either. Because why
Yeah.
would they do that? Why would they do this? just did that real quick with Brian Windhorst. That was entertaining as hell. Especially the woman on the program. I don't remember her name. I don't think it was Monica McNutt. I think it was somebody else.
Malika Andrews?
No, it wasn't Malika Andrews. It was I don't know her name. But the best part of that whole thing is when he's being all like, huh. Now tell me, when they traded blah 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 for blah blah blah, why would they do that? Very peculiar. And she goes, okay. Like the whole thing was it's like them on the edge of their seat being like, are you about to break some news? No, I'm just asking questions to no answers. And they're all just like, okay, Wendy, you're being fucking weird right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Jesus.
It was almost
dude,
like
I didn't
sorry,
even
go ahead.
see it. I read it. I didn't even see the
Oh,
video.
dude, watch the video. I'm sure you've seen like all of Twitter right now is basically Brian Windhorst memes of him doing this,
Yes.
and then Usher going, "Oh, watch this." Like everything is that right now. But yeah, it's just ridiculous. He's just like being like the best way I can describe it is he's kind of being like Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park, where he's like, huh. Now tell me something. The Jazz, huh? Now the Jazz play in Utah. There's snow there, lots of snow, and then somehow it gets to they're trading for Rudy Gobert. I figured it out. I cracked the case.
Yeah.
It was just so fucking weird, but it was comical to watch.
Great theater, huh?
Great theater. I recommend you watch it sometime.
Okay. What?
Back to the war. Oh, sorry. What were you gonna say?
No. What are you laughing at? What are you chuckling at, dude?
Just chuckling at you. I'm surprised you didn't watch the video. You watch everything that comes out.
I know. Really kick the whatever the saying is on that one. I've had a little.
You really kicked the baby there.
Yeah, we had a little bit of wine.
Back to the Warriors and their free agency moves. So we already talked about Damian Lee leaving for the Suns. All good. We'll survive. You got GTA going to the Lakers. Good for him. You got Otto Porter going to the Raptors. Good for him. And you got Bielitsa. Bielitsa. Good God. Well, no harm, no foul. He's going to Turkey, so don't have to worry about it anymore.
Bjelica. When you like think about that, where do you get Bielitsa from?
I just always think of pizza with his name, so I try to rhyme that with pizza, and Bielitsa comes out.
Okay, I'm trying to understand your logic. Not really getting it.
You can't really understand my logic when it comes to me speaking. Like the Titans and me pronouncing it with the D, that's just who I am, man. You can't change me, Steven. No matter how much you and Jesse make fun of me, that's just who I am.
We'll see when DeAndre Ayton gets traded from the Suns to the Neds.
You're funny. So all those guys leave, and it's not really that bad just because I expected Out of Border to leave. I expected GTA to leave, and I expected Bielitsa to leave.
Go ahead.
And we re-signed Looney, so that's good, and I thought that was necessary. But having Gary Payton leave to go to the Portland Trailblazers is that one's tough to swallow. And I know that the Warriors will be fine going forward. They picked up DiVincenzo, and you'll have to fill me in on him, Steven. I don't know a lot about him. If you know the player, Dante
He's just
DiVincenzo.
called White Dante. That's like all I know about him.
Okay.
No, he's a good defender. He's a good defender. Can knock down the three. He'll be a really good fit with the Warriors. Like I think so personally.
As I expect, but he's not what Gary Payton brought last season. And it could just be that it was kind of, a nice story, and it wasn't really just going to work out because he was found money, basically. He was cut 5 times. Or no, he was in the G League for I forget, his whole backstory is crazy, but basically he was not supposed to be on the team. He found a way to be on the team. He overplayed, and good for him. He's getting overpaid. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, for who he is and who Portland is right now, they overpaid to get him, and that's great for him. I'm happy for Gary Payton II. I don't know how he's going to pan out with the Portland Trailblazers.
Yeah,
but he deserves everything he got, and I can't be angry at that. The Warriors weren't going to pay him that amount of money too. They still got to figure out what they're doing with Andrew Wiggins and Jordan Poole. So they got to save money in certain areas, especially if they're trading for Kevin Durant. I'm kidding, but um, even though it sucks, and I like Gary Payton the second, I think that he deserved everything he's getting.
Yeah, like that was my main takeaway is I'm just so happy for that guy, like because he is, I think he's my age. It's the same thing with Otto Porter Jr. And having like seen what they've been through and hearing the whole story about GP2 possibly being a video coordinator with the Warriors, and then how he beat Avery Bradley out for the job. And, the Warriors wanted Avery Bradley at first. Steph and Dre did. And then Gary Payton basically proved them all wrong. And then Draymond goes on the phone and, he said him and Steph both called Bob Myers separately and said, hey, you got to get this GP2 kid on the team. So going from a guy who was a G League journeyman, possible Eric Spoelstra type, where he's a video coordinator starting with the Warriors, you know what I mean? Like almost going into that role, then turning it into 3 years, $28 million with the Trailblazers. Couldn't be happier for the guy. Otto Porter Jr. could never stay healthy. Tops, I think he was a 3rd overall pick in the draft, was an absolute star in high school, but he couldn't stay healthy. Just happy that he's got a new deal too. And Toronto, I think, can be a good spot for him. But I don't think GP2 is going to be nearly as effective as he was on offense there in Portland. I just
Probably
don't.
not.
No, I just think they play a lot of one-on-one basketball. It's not so much, hey, let's move the ball and let's try and get Dame open. It's, hey, Dame, get the ball in your hands and try to make something happen. Same thing with Anthony Simons. Maybe Anthony Simons can, be open at the 3-point line or whatever, but I don't know. I don't think he's going to be as effective offensively in that system. On defense, he'll still do his thing. He'll still guard all 94 feet. But the thing is, like, I would not be having this reaction if he went to a contending team, one who the Warriors could possibly face in the playoffs. Like, then I'd be a little more, oh man, like, of course they were going to let him walk, but I'd also, like, I wouldn't be looking at the Warriors in this situation at all and blaming them for letting him go to this team. But I would be like, oh boy, he's on that team now. Yikes.
You should have went to Dallas and all in reality.
Yeah, like, but I mean, I don't know how much they were offering him. But Kevon Looney's like you said, Kevon Looney's still on the team, so that was the most important piece. And God, like, Joe Lacob really does have a limit, though. I think we've kind of, we're like, after the checkbook championship thing, we were all kind of like, you know what, though, like, Joe Lacob does spend his money. Clearly, there is a limit to what you can spend, because if he would have re-signed those guys, I mean, they would have been hitting $500 million in order to pay for that team, and I don't think Joe Lacob was willing to spend that.
But they don't need to. I think that they see a lot of the young guns and like, now it's time for them to shine. They'll only get better. And while Gary Payton was nice and Otto Porter was nice and Bielitsa was nice, did I get it right that time?
Look at you, finally.
If you hear it once in a while, you'll finally say it.
Yep.
And Wanda Scotto Anderson were all nice at times. Damian Lee was nice. They got a lot of young guys that have way more potential, with the exception of GP2, than the rest of those guys, in my opinion. So who knows what the future will hold, but I think that they think that those guys will fill in just as nice as those guys did.
So we got a lot, we got all the time in the world to talk about, like, the Warriors and their team and expectations for next season. But
they still got Steph and Clay and Dre. They'll be fine.
For sure. And as far as the younger guys, though, who are supposed to replace GP2, Moses Moody is going to be the number one guy, but in the end, you need all these dudes to step up defensively in order to pick up the slack that is going to be lost, or at least the slack that's going to be added on now that GP2 is gone. So, like, Moses Moody, Kuminga, James Wiseman, who do you feel most comfortable about as far as the Warriors' young guys going into next year?
Kuminga, just because he got the experience to play a little bit in the playoffs, even though it was kind of hectic at times and he didn't look great, especially with the turnovers. I think that being in, like, I heard Bob Myers talk about those guys playing in those big moments and just being around the team in those moments, that they'll grow from that. And we'll see with James Wiseman. That's one that he's just got to play. He just got to play, and he'll probably never live up to expectations that we expect as a second overall pick. But just to be another center in the rotation, just to have another big on the team. So yeah, like I always say, Steven, we'll just have to see. But the future's bright for this team. They just won the championship. While they are getting older, they're also getting younger. So I think it's an even balance.
And we, you know what? Like, it's not even just those guys that have to pick it up. Jordan Poole's going to have to pick things up defensively. Like,
Yeah.
he's got to be much better on defense. I know he's got the offense that's added on to it, but, you know, what good is that if he's not a good defender? When Steve Kerr and his goal with the team, along with Kenny Atkinson and Rod Adams and all those guys, is to have an elite defense. Sorry, the wine's getting to me. It's their goal is to have an elite defense.
What kind of wine you sipping on?
It's just Han, I think is what it's called.
Red or white?
It's red.
All right.
Yeah, can't you tell by the teeth? Shout out to Jesse Hahn, former A's legend.
Ah, yeah, there you go.
Do you remember that
Spill
guy?
the wine. Yes, I do.
I don't remember anything about him as far as him just like what he did on the field, but I do remember he was a former A. It's one of those things where it's like, you know, you just sit around and name random players, obscure players. Jesse Hahn would be one of those guys.
There's been many a time where I've hung out with Alexander Scott and Cody Elias down in San Jose, and that's all they do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was hanging out with old Cody yesterday.
How's Cody doing?
He was great. Yeah. Just, but actually, so we were going to the beach, right? We were going to Santa Cruz. It was me, him, his wife, and then our friend Ryan. And we went to a bar afterwards. And I remember during the beach, it was just nonstop, just like obscure naming of players. And then and it got to the point where Cody's like, dude, I got a Google sheet of all the players that the A's have drafted in the past 20 years. We'll go over and I'll show you how bad these A's players have been. I was like,
he knows.
And I was like, dude, oh my God. Like, can we just go to the bar now? I cannot wait to look at this Google Doc with bad A's picks. I cannot wait.
By the way, I'm eating all these hot dogs.
How are they?
They're good, but
lukewarm dogs by now, huh?
Yeah. And I'm probably going to bow out after the second one because I just can't eat that many.
Oh, well, that's fine.
Wimp. And will you just call me a wimp?
Yeah.
Oh, now the challenge bet's back on, baby. No.
Yeah, dude. Freaking get it going. Come on, be a man.
Just eat all those hot dogs and have massive diarrhea?
You don't have to. It's okay.
I probably could. I mean, yeah. No. 64 is, or what do you do, 63?
Yeah.
That's just ridiculous.
What do you think the most of anything that you can eat is? I don't know if that's an appropriate word, but if you were in let's just say there's a food competition for any type of food that you like, that you feel like you can eat a lot of.
Am I drunk or high?
No, you're just eating.
Then I
can be if you want.
Yeah, because that would give me super eating abilities.
Okay, well then, which food though do you feel like you could eat a Cheez-Its?
I can knock out a box of Cheez-Its if I'm drunk or high.
You think so?
Oh, I know so.
Okay, but like you feel like you could win like a competition though, just eating Cheez-Its?
Yeah.
What kind of Cheez-Its?
Regular. I'm
regular.
Not, if it's a white cheddar thing, I'm not eating those.
I think I could eat mostly white cheddar if I had to choose like a type of. It's weird though. Like they're not that good, but you can't stop eating them.
No, they're terrible. White cheddar Cheez-Its are terrible.
I like toasted cheddar or the toasted
Toasties are fantastic. There's been many a time where I've knocked out a full box of Cheez-Its in one night.
Hot and spicy is one that I've back in college, I remember I ate an entire box in one night and I was like, Jesus.
That's what I'm saying. So wait, is the competition who can eat the most boxes or who can eat the box quickest?
That'd be a fun competition to see who could eat a box of cheese.
That sounds like next week's podcast.
Just both of us just eating Cheez-Its as quick as we possibly.
Tune in, man. Just 1 hour of us stuffing our faces with Cheez-Its.
Oh, that'd be great.
No, but the reason I brought up the hot dogs was I don't have condiments on any of these.
Yeah, that's a problem.
And they're a little dry. But do you eat your hot dogs with, like, what do you usually put on your hot dogs?
Mustard. It's mustard number one, but I like using both ketchup and mustard. It depends.
I like mustard on it.
Yeah, I'm more of a mustard guy, but I didn't know like having ketchup on hot dogs was like a children thing.
Now, why would you say that?
Because I've seen it, like when I talk about it on the air, and I'll get a couple of texts on the text line, like saying like I do not eat ketchup. I do not use ketchup on my hot dogs because I am not a child.
I don't think that's a child thing. Okay, like is putting ketchup on your fries a child thing?
Apparently,
Says who?
society.
No.
I'm more of a mustard. Like I like the look though of ketchup and mustard both on a hot dog. I think like it's aesthetically pleasing.
I will put anything on a hot dog, but I'm also cool just eating them without anything. I remember walking down the streets of San Francisco, me, Jacob, and Ogden. We got a hot dog, and I just said, I'll take it plain. And they looked at me like I was fucking nuts. Are hot dogs by themselves gross? I think they're okay.
I absolutely think they're okay.
Okay, there we go.
But I do find it odd. Like, dude, get some condiments on there. Like,
I was hungry and I just needed some food in my stomach.
but make it a little less dry. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to say to make it wet, but like at least give it a little
Steven,
texture.
please.
What?
I'm not getting this hot dog wet for you.
You're not going to do that with mustard?
No.
I think
I'm not getting that hot dog flavored water.
Ernie's got the relish and the sauerkraut. I like relish. I think sauerkraut.
Relish is good.
I've grown into both of those. It's
I
got
can put chili cheese on my hot dog too.
I like a good bacon wrap though. Bacon wrap.
Ooh,
I
that's good.
I think everybody can get behind that. And Ernie says ranch is childish. You know what, Ernie? I say you're a child. You jerk. How dare
Jesus,
you?
you're calling everybody out today.
Look, man.
I'm
you
a
say
wimp.
you say ranch
Our
is childish. I'm gonna call you out.
No, ranch. I like ranch with like chicken tenders.
Yeah, dude. Ranch is fantastic. Shut
Yeah.
up, Ernie.
Alienating our one fan.
Yeah, even though he's like commenting on every single thing that we're talking about, and he's such a good supporter. Shout out to you, Ernie.
How do you know? Ernie says, no. Iron Eagle eats plain hot dog.
Yeah.
How does he know that? I've never heard Iron Eagle like, oh, jaw lift. Excuse me, I gotta get my plain hot dog.
He went on the morning roast, and it was a thing.
Oh, he said that
he does not eat condiments on anything. He never has. He doesn't eat. He just doesn't use condiments. And the reason he's saying no is because when he was asked, so you don't use condiments on anything, and his response is no.
I wonder if Noah Eagle has condiments on his stuff.
I do too. You know what? That'd be an interesting one. I want to ask Noah that. Hey, you eat condiments like your dad, or you don't eat condiments, whatever.
What if Noah said, "What? My dad's a liar. He always has condiments on his stuff."
That'd be a massive revelation,
wouldn't it?
Yes.
You know what's also a massive revelation?
No.
Draymond Green. Thinking that the Cavs would have beat the Warriors those 2 times with Kevin Durant if Kevin Durant was not on the team. Let me rephrase that because that sounded terrible. Draymond Green went on JJ Redick's podcast, and he was asked if Kevin Durant was not on the Warriors, would they have beat the Cavs those 2 championships? And he says no.
Right.
Now, this is also, I love Draymond, and I'll get to the whole rant he had, that one podcast about the people in the old media. I do like his new media stuff, but he is kind of doing old media stuff with this, like, this is just what's going to happen with him having a podcast. His shit's going to come out, and it's going to be hot-takey news.
Yeah.
But I kind of agree with him just because that the Warriors basically got Kevin Durant because the Warriors really had no answer for LeBron James that second time in the finals. Now, I don't agree with him saying that Steph Curry couldn't make his own shot. There are times where defenses can prevent him from going to the hoop. And, it's been proven this finals when he had that game 4 against the Celtics. It wasn't so much the threes he was hitting. It's the aggressiveness of him going to the hoop and making, plays inside the perimeter. But I would say that it's interesting that Draymond would say that now, just because I don't know. It just it brings more fuel to the fire a little bit with, Steph Curry saying what are they gonna say now, and Draymond kind of like, not that he's grilling his own teammate, but it just didn't need to be said. But JJ Redick's asking the question. I think it was an honest answer, and I somewhat agree with him. Do you agree that if Kevin Durant never went to the Warriors, that they would have beat the Cavs those 2 finals?
There are a couple of things. You mentioned it right at the end there. JJ Redick, he didn't say a single thing about Kevin Durant. That was number one. It felt like JJ was more trying to celebrate Steph, and for some reason, Draymond decided to inject KD into it. That was number one. He didn't ask about Kevin Durant. He just straight up asked him about Steph Curry, like what Steph
Are you
did.
sure?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to say I listened to that podcast, and I think he asked him that straight up.
Nah, yeah. He was talking about Steph,
Okay,
and then
okay,
Draymond brings up KD at the end, and that forces JJ to ask a follow up about Kevin Durant.
okay.
So I didn't understand why he brought that up, but yeah, it's all that's the thing for me. It's all about the timing. Like I personally don't want to get into an argument with anybody about what a team could have or couldn't have done 5 years ago. Like I'm just not going to do that. That's a total waste of my time. But why did he have to say that now? I understand he wants to be honest and he's the new media and he's trying to teach people, but like I don't know, man. Like that's whole thing. He talks about how Steph showed that emotion in game 4 and the reason that he was going back to yell at the Celtics crowd, it was to help me out because everything that was going on with me and the crowd going at me. And then, back with the Kevin Durant stuff and all that. And he said that, he's been ridiculed. And then he goes on to say, oh, but by the way, Steph can't create his own shot and we needed Kevin Durant to win the 2017 finals. So I didn't understand any of that at all. I got to be honest, dude. With having like a week to think about it, Draymond's talking way too much. Like,
Okay.
dude is like, I'm sorry, but I'm tired of him playing like the victim. Like, okay. Skip Bayless calls Russell Westbrook Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook is making $47 million in a single year. You can call me whatever you want if I'm making $47 million a year. Like, stop playing the victim, man. Like everyone would wish that if they would get called their last name in a different way. Like I got so bothered by all of that.
Well, that was ridiculous. Russell Westbrook being upset by that, and then Draymond coming to like, just nicknames are not anything like as long as they're done in a fun nature. Like that's actually clever in my opinion. Westbrook, that's funny. But to take it like, oh man, that's my name.
Right.
That's my son's name. That's my wife's name. Relax.
Yeah.
Everyone relax.
Yeah.
Now, I did listen to Draymond's podcast. The one where he called out all of the old media guys. And he went on Kendrick Perkins, and we'll get to that one in a little bit. But he called out Skip Bayless. He called out Nick Wright. Called out a lot of people. And for the most part, I could tell in your tone, Steven, that you're kind of annoyed with him with that whole thing.
It's just like, well, not necessarily that. No, not calling out like, these random guys, because I do believe that they, I do believe that they deserve to be held accountable for what they've said. But I also think Draymond did the old media thing, and that is take something out of context. Like when he was talking about Nick Wright, he said, oh, he didn't apologize. He didn't say he was wrong. He just said it was a hot take. It's like, no, dude, he actually straight up said that he was wrong about Andrew Wiggins. Like he said
Yeah,
he's
I know he
going to
tweeted
wear
that
it.
out.
And he said he was going to wear it. Like, I don't understand why you're just brushing that off. That's number one. But like Draymond said about defense when he went to the podium and he said that fans don't know shit about basketball, about defense specifically. He said it's more important to understand what you don't know. And I think the thing that's important for him to understand is he doesn't understand the old media as much as he thinks that he understands it. And I think that everything that he was saying, I mean, it might have been, oh, great, man, he's calling out this old media members and now everyone's going to get on his side. But it's like, dude, you're kind of taken away the work that these guys had done to get there. Like Skip Bayless and Nick Wright, as much as those guys are hot take artists and they don't believe anything that they've said, they've worked really, really hard to get there to where they're at now. And when you're in their place, I do think you got to create something in order to keep buzz going. Because whatever Draymond's talking about, the new media, we want to teach. There's not going to be a lot of teaching to do. Like there's not going to be teaching to do every single day, like every single day. Some people just aren't going to want to break down defense. People aren't going to want to break down coverages on the pick and roll. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. I love Draymond and I love everything that he's doing, but I just think that he kind of was in a little over his head these past couple of podcasts. That's all.
I hear you, but I also, you know me and how I felt about hot takes and sports media for a long time. So
Well, yeah,
actually, it
but
was
then you'd go on to make hot takes yourself. So,
me.
yeah.
Yeah, with the Josh McDaniels thing. Yeah,
Yeah, you'd go on to make hot takes yourself. So you'd kind of be like Draymond in that situation, but it's okay.
I guess me and
I
Draymond are
still
two
love you, bro.
peas in a podcast pod, baby. Um, but I would say that everything that
Two peas in a
Draymond.
podcast. That would have been a great name for this.
We should change that now. Nah, I like our name. So, Draymond,
Yes.
I understand what he was saying, and it was kind of refreshing to hear him say all that stuff because I've always felt that way. Me personally, I want to be taught things that I don't understand. So when guys like Tony Romo or JJ Redick or somebody's breaking down the game, I love it. I like Dan Orlovsky doing his stuff. I think that I rather would hear that than someone speculating on a tweet or a hot take or any of that shit. Now, to your point, Steven, that is their platform. Skip Bayless's show and Nick Wright's show are debate shows, and I don't take them seriously. They anger me because that's how people listen to sports these days, and that's how we dictate a lot of our coverage, but that's their avenue. Draymond's avenue is different. When he becomes an analyst full time, he won't have to do these things. He will be on the TNT set breaking down games, and that will be him being the new media. But if as far as like a debate show thing, that shouldn't be his thing. And I thought he spent too much time bashing those guys, but I also agree with everything he said, with the exception of Kendrick Perkins. I don't like Kendrick Perkins. I think he's a hothead. I think that he just says stuff just to say things, like case in point, the Steph Curry thing where he thought that Steph Curry was going to do nothing.
Yeah.
And Richard Jefferson is laughing at him saying, "You literally just told me you didn't think of any of this stuff before we just came out here." And a lot of that stuff is dictated by TV producers and working in TV on NFL Network. I'm not going to reveal anything shocking here, but they want you to create bullshit sometimes. They want you to stir things up. They want you to make a social media moment, a trending moment that makes the show special, that gets buzz. So that's why these guys do this stuff. They get paid a shit ton of money to look like idiots, and for the most part, they don't care. But what Draymond did say about Kendrick Perkins, the racial slur and all that stuff, I thought was a little too far. And I'm glad that even Draymond put out a podcast saying, I need to grow, I need to do better, and that was not right of me.
Yeah, you know what? It was of course, like the whole thing with the Kendrick Perkins thing didn't bother me too much. Like it did, but you know what I mean. Obviously,
Yeah.
the racial I don't want to hear that. You know what I'm saying. But him coming out with the apology, like I believe that, and him saying that he growing up in Saginaw, he never thought anything of it. But it was when he called out these guys. He's just failing to call out what's really wrong with the old media or the media right now, which is like Nick Wright had that opinion on Andrew Wiggins, but he also like escalated it to a whole new level. Like you could say like, oh, that was a bad contract. Like, oh, that's just a bad contract that the Warriors traded for. I don't know why they're doing that. But then he escalated it to saying that this is the worst contract in NBA sports history. And then he goes on to say, because of this, the Warriors are done, Steph is done, and Steph's never getting another ring. I think that's the one thing you need to be paying attention to. Not so much the Andrew Wiggins contract, because Wiggins was not good. Like everyone had that same opinion. Like, what's he doing making a max contract? Like, why? That's stupid. Andrew Wiggins is not any good. But like, so I it's not the Andrew Wiggins point, but it was like everything after that. It's like, oh, Wiggins is traded to the Warriors. Warriors are done. Warriors are done. Steph Curry's done. Steph Curry never winning another title. Skip Bayless just says a bunch of shit, and he does not believe any of it, which is fine. He's making $10 million a year. I'd say whatever I want. I'd say anything to make $10 million a year. No, I wouldn't.
Would you?
I wouldn't say anything. But the one thing that bothered me too is like, dude, you're getting hired on your Volume Sports podcast by the guy who said the Warriors were done in 2021. This guy who consistently changes his mind, who literally uses the antithesis of stand on your word in order to reason his takes out, which is, oh, if I'm presented with new information, then I'm going to, have a different take about it. It's like, dude, you're working for Colin Cowherd, who's just as bad as all of these guys.
Thank you.
Like, that was the one thing to me where I'm like, all right, dude, cool. You're calling out all these media members. How about you call out the one that you're working for? Because he's the worst out of all of them.
Thank you. Taking the
At
words
least,
right.
at least we know Nick Wright and Skip Bayless are just caricatures. At least we know they're just like, little like plants in the Fox Sports Corporation just to piss
I like how
people
you're
off.
planting there.
Yeah, I know. That's not a good look. But
I'm just planting right now.
But like Colin Cowherd is the guy that like is supposed to come off as Mr. Reasonable, but he's not. He's just as bad as all of them. And he has his producers writing his things for him. So, I just think there was a little bit of hypocrisy in what he had to say.
Steven, 100% agree with you. That was the point I was going to make was he can call out all these guys, but Draymond can't be a hypocrite too. So if you're going to call out Skip Bayless, if you're going to call out Nick Wright, if you're going to call out Kendrick Perkins, yes, Colin Cowherd, if you want to do the new media, and I'm not going to tell you how to do your business, you do it how you want to do it. But if you want to do the new media and have your your podcast is the most successful sports podcast right now in America. So if you wanted to, do it independently. You don't need to be on the volume. So whenever he does this stuff and says, well, I got my guy Colin Cowherd, it's hypocritical to me.
Yeah.
It's hypocritical when he, I know Stephen A. Smith is not on the same level of those guys, but I think that's hypocritical. He's like, my guy, Stephen A. Smith. He's just as bad as them, in my opinion. And also, I'm gagging every time he brings up LeBron James on these podcasts. I understand that, it's a new day and age in the NBA and guys like each other, but good God, man, ever since he went to Rich Sports or whatever the fuck it's called,
Clutch
Sports, he is just a LeBron guy. And just ugh.
Yeah. I don't even want to. The LeBron thing. He loves LeBron, and
now I can't wait for this video to be referenced in a podcast by him. Like, these two little guys don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Right. And you know what? I will say this about the new media. This has been going on in football for a while now. Like, the new media already exists, Draymond. This isn't anything new that you're putting out there, all right? This is, sure, it's the new media, and you might be the voice for it in the NBA, but this has been going on in football. Football players have podcasts. Former football players have podcasts. Everybody has podcasts now. So you're not just the only one. And by the way, JJ Redick has gone on and had a couple of these hot takes, which is just absurd. CJ McCollum, eventually we'll get to that. Like, that's just what happens when you get into the media, man. You got to come up with something. Like, if you're not entertaining, you're not funny. Like, at least come up with something outlandish that makes people think, that makes people talk. I think that's another thing with the media too, is like, you got to make people talk. Nobody's talking about the breakdowns of all these games. I know you're a sports nerd along with me. We're both sports nerds and we'd love to hear that stuff. But the casual people, they don't want to hear that. They want to hear drama. They want to hear reality TV. They don't want to hear freaking sports breakdowns, Red Auerbach fundamental video. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but don't you think that's a little problem with society too, in my opinion?
Well, it's not a societal problem. I mean,
it's a sports societal problem.
Sure. Yes.
It's a societal problem.
A societal problem is that we are celebrating this day. That's a societal problem. As I take a sip of wine.
Yeah, you're just getting more loose as you drink that red wine.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, man, this 4th of July bullshit. I'm telling you that.
I'm like the drunk uncle on Saturday Night
Live. Before we wrap things up, there's a few things I want to touch on. You brought up the Giants.
Yeah.
Got swept by the White Sox. They got a game coming up here in a little bit against the Diamondbacks. They've slid to, I guess, 4th in the wild card standings right now for the NL. Or possibly 5th. I actually think it's 5th. We're in July. Things could be done on the trade deadline. But, Steven, how you feeling for the Giants so far?
Not feeling good. Not feeling good. Feeling kind of confused. Feeling like there is the roadmap that Farhan had created isn't exactly working. Seems like they've kind of gotten lost. I don't know, man. It's the platooning thing that really gets me. And I think, this whole year I've kind of brushed it off and said, whatever. They're just like running this whole thing. Like, who's really who's really worth it on this team to where you're going to keep them in there. Well, Jock Peterson has proven that he's a guy that you can play no matter who the pitcher is, no matter what arm they're throwing with, whether it's a righty or a lefty. And Jock Peterson's a guy you need to play because he is your all-star. And when they made the move in the second game of that Detroit series, where they took out Jock Peterson in the bottom of the sixth because Andrew Chafin, the lefty, was coming in. So it's all right. We're going to take Jock Peterson out. We're going to put in Austin Slater, who is good against lefties at home. All right, let's do it. And it's in the bottom of the sixth inning, and it's a 3-1 game. And then by the time the inning's over, Austin Slater had already struck out, gets to the bottom of the seventh. Giants go on a little rally, and it's a 3-2 game, bases loaded, 2 outs. And who comes to the plate? Austin Slater. And oh, by the way, in that time, the Tigers had gone back to a righty. So Jock Peterson taken out in the sixth when he could have gone up against a righty the next inning with the bases loaded when he was already 1 for 2 with the double on the day against a righty. It's just the platooning thing is really starting to get to me. It really is, man. And I don't think they really have much of a plan. They might. I think they're just waiting, and it sucks. It sucks where in this holding pattern as fans where it's like, all right, let's wait 2 years until those guys get called up, because that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, I can't really add much. I just think that for everyone, were you expecting the Giants to go and get some big names in the offseason?
No, I wasn't expecting that, but I expected them to be going away from the spreadsheet a little more, because it felt like that's what they did last year, even with their 107 wins. It felt like mixing in the gut and the spreadsheet, but now it just feels like it's all spreadsheet.
Are you one of those Giants fans that's holding hope that they may make a play for Juan Soto or Aaron Judge or any of these guys that are up for the future?
I'm not going to hold out hope for Judge. Soto, no. Soto, that's not going to happen. 24 years old. The Nats would be stupid in order to trade him. They're getting new ownership. They're going to want that new ownership group to come in with their star. So, no, I'm not holding out hope for that. Judge, I guess you could say I am, because I think the Yankees are just on a one-way track to losing again in the American League Championship Series, in which case Aaron Judge is going to be frustrated and he is going to want to leave. So, yes, I am holding out hope.
But not if they give him a 9-year, 10-year deal.
Which they could. They very well could.
But Michael Kay says that they're not going to, which I find ridiculous.
Yeah, well, Michael Kay says, see ya to Aaron Judge. Yeah. Well, no, I'm not really holding out hope for either of those guys. I'm not going to sit there and say oh my God, we're getting Judge in the offseason. No, I'm not saying that, but the Yankees end up falling in the playoffs. I think I'd be like, ooh, you never know. Hometown team. Judge wants to play for him.
I just think it's funny, from when I was at 95.7 a game to being a KMBR now, the talking point that the Giants are in hopes of getting, so back when I was working 95.7 the game, it was Bryce Harper, or it was Giancarlo Stanton, or it was Shohei Ohtani. All those names, at the end of the day, I don't think they're getting any of those guys. Because me and Evan, who works with you now, we're talking about this at Old Chip the other day. Farhan is going to operate like Billy Beane more than people think he's going to. And that's just the reality. And Giants fans are not ready to hear that. Even though they have the money to do it, he just won't do it that way.
Yeah. If you're talking attendance numbers are constantly being brought into it.
Andrew Bagley wrote that.
Well, let's just face the facts here. Giants fans, bandwagoners for the most part. A lot joined them because they're a championship team. If they don't have this shiny new object, and if they don't start winning some games, nobody's going to show up. That's just a reality of it. It's the same thing with 49ers too. Nobody showed up at Levi's Stadium when they sucked. Unless your team looks like they have some sort of direction. So unless that's going to happen, attendance isn't going to go up. I don't even know if they need to star necessarily, but they need to have some sort of, upward trajectory, and they just don't have that right now. I don't know. And Gabe Kapler is making himself just look more and more hypocritical by the day as it goes on.
Well, I'm sorry, Steven. It sounds like you're down the dumps about that.
Yeah, it's just very frustrating, but
there's still what? There's 3 games above 500?
It is what it is. Baseball's baseball. I kind of look at it differently. I enjoy watching it every day, even though the team sucks. It's not as depressing as it was in 2018 18. I'll say that. It was
Yeah.
really bad then. That was when they just could not put a. At least they could put. At least this team could put runs on the board. Like that team
But
just couldn't put
defensively,
runs on
they're
them.
just lost right now.
Oh yeah, defensively they're terrible. Their bullpen, besides Camilo Doval, it's just a toss up as to who you put in there. Like I thought Dominic Leone was the guy to be the setup man, but even he's proven that he can, have his off days. So I don't know, man. I'm kind of at a loss with the team. But hey, you got a guy like David Villar who comes up and looks like he's 2 for 2 right now and just hit an RBI single and had that double earlier. So 2 more away from the cycle. How about that? Triple and a home run away.
There you go. And then the A's.
The A's suck.
I know the A's suck. You don't have to cut me off there by saying how much they suck. I know I realize they suck, and then this might be the worst A's team I've ever seen, my worst A's team, or worst Bay Area baseball team we ever might see. But they did get approved for Howard Terminal. But yeah, you're right to make that face. That's
when felt like they've been approved for Howard Terminal like 8 different times.
I know, but it just happened this last week, and if they weren't approved for it, they would have just killed everything, and they were going to go to Vegas. But they're going to Vegas regardless because Rob Manfred is going to waive the moving tax or whatever the tax fee it is to relocate your team. So this team's going to Vegas. No, and it just sucks. It sucks that while it sounds like Oakland's, willing to make accommodations for the A's, and the A's are just like, no, we're good. We're going to Vegas.
Yeah.
So not much more to say about that.
Make the A's the team where you take away the diehard fans and insert just a bunch of random away fans so that because like the thing is with the A's too is even when they're good, there's a bunch of diehards out there. For some reason, people just don't want to go to that ballpark. I can't tell you why. That's good enough. I can go out there plenty. It's good enough food. It's baseball after all. It's a fun little atmosphere, although the stadium kind of stinks. But like how does that really affect you? You're going to sit in your seat and you're going to watch a baseball game. Like how much?
It's more than that.
How much can the stadium really like impact your experience at a ballpark? You know what I mean?
Well, the seats get really hot. But
the seats get really hot. I mean, they don't have a lot of stuff like during the game. You know what I mean? Besides like the 3 hat thing where you're like constantly going, oh, 3, 3, 3, the ball's under the 3 hat, and then the
I love that.
Yeah, I used to. And then they don't have
you don't like the BART train race?
Oh, the BART train race is really it's a lot of fun. I do enjoy
or
that.
The big head races between Ricky Henderson, Eck, or
do they still do those?
I think so. Where the guys are having the big heads and they flop on the field.
I haven't seen them, but I don't know, man. A's baseball, whatever. Yeah, I've barely.
It's hard. It's definitely hard to watch. Yeah, it's definitely hard to watch this season. What else did I want to bring up? So it is 4th of July. Any 4th of July traditions you usually have, Steven? Anything?
Not recently. We used to go up to this spot and watch fireworks every week, every year, but yeah, no real 4th of July traditions. I don't know. And now, like looking at the state of this country and all that, like it's hard to like. I can't believe I'm gonna say it, but like I just. Like it's crazy to me. I was thinking about this the other day when I drove by like a truck at the end of their tailgate. They had a big ass American flag on there, and I'm like, I've never thought I'd look at the stars and stripes with just such like disgust. You know what I mean? It's just like I can't believe I'm looking at that as a signal for somebody who just does not understand what this country is going through right now, and just seeing like the stars and the stripes. It just gives a bad taste in your mouth, man. I can't believe I'm at that point, but that's where I'm at.
I feel you. I definitely the last 3 4th of Julys have been weird, especially during COVID and George Floyd 2 years ago, and then this year. There's a lot of people that are going to go out and celebrate and wear stars and stripes on their shirts and go to parades and have barbecue, and that's all well and good. I'm not it's good to have some traditions, and if people want to support America today, go for it. I'm with you. But I also would say that the people that are not supporting the country today, that are going to protest Roe v. Wade, or the overturning of Roe v. Wade and everything that's going on in our country right now, I wouldn't call them unpatriotic. I think they're extremely patriotic because they want this country to be better. I think
Yeah.
that's all we ask for. So I think it's fine for the people to celebrate America today, but also I think that people shouldn't look down on the people that don't want to celebrate America today because they just wanted this country to be a lot better and have freedom for all. And that includes women and everybody in this country.
Yeah. Yeah. And then all this on the heels of there being another mass shooting today, like at a 4th of July
Exactly.
parade.
Yep. You know, where was that? In I'm sorry, I don't even know where it took place because it just happens so frequently. But
It was in Chicago, wasn't it?
yeah, Chicago. Terrible. It's
Yeah.
terrible. And I think even the whatever was taking place there, the person running the event was like, "Well, let's just get back to having 4th of July," and it just sucks. I really, I know last week you said go out and vote, and I agree with you, Steven, but man, there's just so much that's just going on right now that it's just, ugh.
Well, you got to. You got to.
Yeah.
It's the only way to fix it. Do we want to end something on a fun?
Yes, let's do. Well, what I was going to say was that my tradition. Yeah, we'll do pop culture catch up, and you will like this, Steven, because I'll admit I was wrong.
Wait, do I need to go to the ticker then here?
I have a tradition every 4th of July. When you think of the best summer movie, in your opinion, a movie that epitomizes summer, what do you think of?
Ooh, that epitomizes summer?
Yes. Like your favorite summer movie.
Mm.
Movie about summer.
Damn, I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, like, of course, like the movie that I go to on July 4th is Independence Day. There's no doubt about that. Like, you know what I mean?
And I think I've said this before. Still haven't seen it. I may watch it tonight, actually. And it makes sense to watch tonight. Yes. We've been down this road before, Steven.
Yeah, keep going.
When I think of 4th of July, the movie that I always put on, and the movie that I think is the best summer movie of all time, is Wet Hot American Summer.
Mm.
And a lot of people don't know this movie. It's 20 years old. It's got Paul Rudd in it. It's got a shit ton of people. Bradley Cooper's in it. Elizabeth Banks, Michael Ian Black. Everybody from like Saturday Night Live, Amy Poehler, Cam Marino. It is a comedy classic. And when you mention it to some people, they're like, I don't know what that is. I think that's just I think it's a summer staple in my opinion, and I always put it on for 4th of July.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you watch it already, or are you watching it after this?
Well, I say that, but I don't know if I will watch today because I never seen Independence Day, and by the look of your judgment, I should get around to watching it.
I'd say you need to watch Independence Day over Wet Hot American Summer. Yes,
I have seen Wet Hot American Summer so many times, so I think it's about time I go see Independence Day. And I was thinking about, maybe later on I'll go pop in. I haven't been to the movie theater down here in Oakland yet. I may go check out Top Gun. Haven't seen it yet.
As you should.
Heard it's good. Okay.
But you should also check out Elvis.
Okay, so tell me about Elvis.
Oh, this is so good. So good. It was we always go back to like Rocket Man and Bohemian Rhapsody, doing the biopic, whatever. This one did not leave me like wanting more from the movie. Like after I walked out of Bohemian Rhapsody and after I watched Rocket Man, I was like, those were good. The performances were good, but the movie was whatever. And then Elvis, I walked out of the theater like, damn, that was freaking great. So yeah, I highly recommend you check it out. Austin Butler, fantastic job as Elvis.
Where is he from? Is he from anything?
I don't know. Disney Channel shit like Zoe 101 and all these different things. Like this is his first
good for him. Good for him.
Yeah, it's his first like real role where I think taken like 2 years to get the character right. So just he was great. I didn't think anybody would be able to move that way, but even the best Elvis impersonator couldn't have done the job that he did. He was awesome.
Or even Elvis himself, because some people think he's still alive.
Yes, and Tom Hanks is a dick for the first time in movie history. He doesn't have many hateable characters in his movie catalog. This is the most hateable, I think.
That Thing You Do?
Never seen it.
Oh, okay. If I see Independence Day today, then you watch That Thing You Do today.
No.
Why not?
not gonna. What kind of trade off is that? No, thank you. I only got
What
I
about
only got
classic films?
I only got so many hours left in this day, Derek, until I have to go to sleep. I am not going to spend it watching That Thing You Do.
Doing That Thing You Do. It's a good movie.
Nah, I'm good.
I wouldn't say he's a dick. He's just a sleazy manager in that movie.
Well,
He also directed it, if I am not mistaken.
he did. It's the same thing with Elvis.
He directed Elvis? No, Baz Luhrmann directed Elvis.
Yeah, but he's a dick of a manager.
Ah, I see. Yeah, I may check it out, Elvis, pretty soon here. I want to apologize.
Why?
I watched the rest of Stranger Things.
Oh,
It's very good. Once it got to the part where we find out who the bad guy is and everything, I was getting into it.
what about so you watched like the last two? You watched the second volume?
Okay. That's the thing. So I didn't know how they were spreading it up. So the volume 2 just has 2 final episodes, right? But they're super long.
Yep.
Okay. So I watched the second and last one thinking that was going to be it. And then I saw the next episode is 2 hours and 30 minutes long. And I was like, whoa, shit, that's a movie.
Yeah.
Okay. Putting that on ice for a little while. I'll watch it when I get around to it. But I haven't seen it yet. But I would say now, in retrospect of the whole season and everything, this is probably the best season they've done. It's very cinematic and it kind of brings everything together, explains the whole, the upside down and all that shit. So,
Yep.
very well done. Very well done.
Yeah. Did you think though that Hopper was going to have the pain threshold of a freaking Marvel superhero? Because he just like
Breaking his own legs and yeah.
I was like, Jesus, dude. Like, this dude is constantly taking pain when he like first came onto the scene in this show, and he's just like shirtless and he's got a beer gut and he's smoking a cigarette overlooking the lake, like an unbuttoned jeans. I didn't think that dude was going to be a damn near superhero in that movie, or in that show, but he was. He was great.
It's called character growth, Steven.
This is true. Yes, great character arc for him.
So yeah, I'll get around to watching that. So yeah, between Stranger Things and Top Gun and Independence Day, I'll figure out what I'm doing. And Elvis, I guess, tonight.
Yes. Check out Elvis if you can.
I will, sir. And we will be, it's July already. So we are a few weeks away from training camp starting up. We'll be talking about football.
Yeah.
And this was the timeline we were talking about for Jimmy Garoppolo throwing again. So expect that to be a thing with Deshaun Watson's case being heard. And I guess they're done with that. So there'll be a ruling, I guess, in the next couple of weeks here. So we'll see what happens with old James Garoppolo. I'm so hungover. I apologize.
It's okay.
I probably did not bring my A game for this podcast today.
Way to bring it home.
That's how we end it, baby. So yeah, we'll bring you more. Hopefully this KD thing gets rectified soon, and we'll talk about that when that gets broken, and we'll talk about more football as it happens. But yeah, and we'll do more pop culture stuff.
Yes.
All right, get back to your wine, sir.
All right, dude. See ya.
All right. See ya. And like we always say, I don't even know how we God, I am so out of it today. Say what you always say, my friend.
It's just our opinion, man.